There's a moment many people spend years of their career dreaming and working towards. The email arrives, your manager calls you into their office, they tell you the company has recognized your hard work. You are moving up, more responsibility, more authority, a better title, sometimes even a slightly better salary. For a moment, it feels like proof that everything you did was worth it. The late nights, the extra projects, the quiet problem solving, it all finally paid off. There's something strange about promotions that people rarely talk about. Sometimes, the moment you finally get promoted, your job quietly becomes worse. At first, everything feels the same, but slowly, the nature of your work starts to change. Because the promotion does not actually change the system you work inside, it just moves you deeper into it. And once that happens, the rules begin to shift in ways that most people never expect. At first, nothing seems different. You still sit at the same desk. You still talk to the same coworkers. You still solve the same problems. But slowly, your job starts expanding. Not in ways that were written in the job description, in ways that simply appear. You are now responsible for decisions that used to belong to someone else. You are responsible for fixing problems created by people who are still doing the exact same job they were doing yesterday. You are responsible for outcomes that you do not fully control. And most importantly, you are responsible for the expectations of people above you. This is when the real change happens. Before the promotion, you were evaluated based on effort. After the promotion, you are evaluated based on results. It does not matter how complicated the problem is. It does not matter how little support you have. It does not matter how unpredictable the situation becomes. Your job is to make it work. And if it does not work, the responsibility quietly lands on you. This is one of the strange things about promotions. They increase responsibility faster than they increase power. You are now accountable for more things, but your ability to change those things does not increase nearly as much, which creates a very specific kind of pressure. Imagine someone who was excellent at their job. They solved problems quickly. They were reliable. Their coworkers trusted them. Their manager depended on them. So, naturally, they were promoted. But the moment they moved into that new role, something subtle happened. They stopped being the person who solves problems, and they became the person responsible for problems. Now they have to manage people who work differently than they do, people who move slower, people who care less, people who sometimes make mistakes that take hours to fix. And suddenly, the skills that made them successful before do not solve the same problems anymore. Because management is not the same job, it is a completely different one. The person who was once the most effective individual contributor is now spending most of their time in meetings, coordinating tasks, explaining decisions, trying to keep everything from falling apart, instead of doing the work they were once great at. And slowly, the thing that made them valuable starts disappearing: their competence. The work they once finished in an hour now takes an entire team a day, and they are responsible for making sure that team delivers results. This is when many people experience a strange realization. The promotion did not make their work easier. It made their work more abstract, more political, more dependent on the behavior of others. In many cases, the person who gets promoted becomes less connected to the actual work that once made them successful, which creates a paradox. The better someone was at their job, the more likely they were to be promoted, but the promotion removes them from the job they were good at. This idea is not new. There is a well-known concept in organizational theory, sometimes called the Peter Principle. It suggests that people are often promoted until they reach a role where they are no longer effective, not because they became less intelligent, but because the new role requires completely different abilities, skills they were never trained to develop. Think about someone who was an excellent engineer, precise, focused, detail-oriented. They solve technical problems better than anyone else on the team. So eventually, they are promoted to manage engineers. But managing engineers does not require engineering skill. It requires communication, conflict resolution, leadership, time allocation, decision-making under uncertainty. Completely different abilities, and if those abilities were never developed, the promotion can feel less like an achievement and more like a trap, because now expectations are higher, but the work is harder to control. Another strange side effect appears as well. The further someone moves up, the more visible their mistakes become. When you are one person on a team, your mistakes are small. When you are responsible for a team, your mistakes affect many people. And when you are responsible for an entire department, your mistakes can affect an entire company, which means the margin for error shrinks. At the same time, the complexity of decisions grows. And this is where many promotions start revealing their hidden cost. The higher the role, the more of your time becomes dedicated to managing uncertainty, handling conflict, balancing competing priorities, trying to keep different parts of the organization aligned. These are problems that rarely have clear solutions, which means the work becomes less satisfying. Instead of solving concrete problems, you are managing ambiguous ones. Instead of completing tasks, you are managing expectations. And instead of controlling outcomes, you are influencing them. Sometimes only slightly. For some people, this kind of work is rewarding. They enjoy strategy. They enjoy leadership. They enjoy navigating complex systems. But for many others, it feels like they traded the work they loved for a role they were never actually interested in. And they did it for a reason that seemed obvious at the time. Because promotions are supposed to represent progress. But progress inside a corporate structure does not always mean improvement. Sometimes it simply means moving into a role with more pressure and less control, more responsibility and less clarity, more expectations and fewer guarantees. And this is the quiet reality many professionals eventually discover. The goal was never just to get promoted. The real challenge is understanding whether the promotion actually leads to the kind of work you want to be doing. Because once you step into a higher role, stepping back is rarely encouraged. The system assumes that moving up is always the right direction, even when it is not. And that is why promotions can sometimes create a strange feeling. The moment that was supposed to feel like success begins to feel like something else. A shift, a new set of problems, a different kind of pressure. Not because the promotion was a mistake, but because the structure of modern work often rewards competence by turning it into responsibility. And responsibility, once it expands far enough, can start to look less like progress and more like a trap.